This photo book felt like a slap in my face, and it turns out that's probably what I needed. Lee Friedlander is one of the greatest photographers of all time. I'm a huge fan of his work, especially America by Car, which has profoundly influenced my own photography. I've been lucky enough to get my hands on several of his books, and I've loved every single one of them. Or at least that was the case until I saw this one, Western Landscapes. This is a giant book, an extremely high quality book too. Every page feels like a print. But the photographs, well, let's just say this book was a shock to my system, especially because the images are black and white, square, and of subjects very similar to the ones I like to photograph myself. There's familiarity in the form, and yet they couldn't be more different. At first I was confused, so I took a second look and I still didn't understand it. It felt like every time I flipped through the book, I was more and more lost. As someone who loves clean and simple compositions, as I said, this book felt a little bit like a slap in the face. I wonder, why would someone so talented like Lee Friedlander create something that felt so random? But then I realized that maybe that's the point. Maybe Friedlander isn't trying to make me feel comfortable. Maybe he's forcing me to see differently by challenging what landscape photography is supposed to be. Maybe that's what I needed. After all, it's easy to dismiss something we don't like, but that's often where the most growth happens. So I gave it a try this morning. I went out with my camera with one question in mind. What if, instead of simplifying my compositions like I usually do, sometimes to a fault, I not only embraced chaos, but actually sought it? Today was a sunny and very bright day, conditions that I normally avoid. I walked to the Golden Gate Bridge, an iconic location, and tried to find new perspectives by walking into the landscape, like Friedlander did for this book. I used my little RX100 Mark VII and even shot with flash for the first time in a very long time, trying to emulate what Lee Friedlander did in this book again. The results, well, to be honest, I don't like them. I'm still very much after clean compositions and moody photographs, but perhaps after today I might be a bit more forgiving with some imperfections here and there. Maybe that makes the photographs more human, more relatable. I did enjoy the feeling that I was pushing myself to do something very different from the way I usually approach photography. And once I made it back home, I thought of a few important lessons we can take from Lee Friedlander's work. The first one is always challenge the idea of what a good photograph is, of what good photography is supposed to be. Because after all, art and culture in general are nothing more than artificial constructs that change all the time. It's all subjective and relative. And Lee Friedlander, like no one else, definitely challenges the traditional notions of beauty and order in this work. The second lesson is don't show, instead hint. Be suggestive. This is something that I already try to do in my work. I often rely on fog to create that wonder, but when the conditions are not there, I use composition and techniques like shallow depth of field to hint at what's there without revealing everything, because this suggestion leaves room for imagination, making an image more engaging and mysterious, in my opinion at least. And again, Friedlander takes this idea much farther than I ever have. Even when I'm being very subtle, I still like to have a clear subject or message for every image. But many of his photographs here in this book don't even have a subject. They force the viewer to make whatever they want of the image, to search for meaning, if they can find any. The third lesson is that experimentation matters even when it doesn't work. You could say that especially when it doesn't work. This is because we are the sum of many, many tiny influences. So even if an experiment doesn't shape our future work in any meaningful way, it can still help us grow. So never forget to be playful, to try something new every once in a while, to challenge your own habits and to let go of preconceived ideas you might have, if only for a few hours. Next time you make an image, take a moment to look around and see what you might have missed, even if it's not something that you would usually photograph. And the fourth and last lesson is that photography requires commitment. Lee Friedlander is one of those, relentless, hard-working photographers. I've realized a long time ago that all my heroes in the world of photography committed their whole lives to this art, to the point where one could say that they were, or are, in the case of Lee Friedlander, obsessed with it. Dedication, kind of insane dedication, seems to separate the good from the great. Friedlander shot thousands of images on every trip, and according to the essay in this book, when he was home, he spent most of his time working in the darkroom. He probably still does, even in his 90s. So to me, seeing someone so committed to their craft, to their passion, still chasing the images they envision, it is very inspiring. So I'm very glad I picked up this book, even if it's not my favorite from him, because this experiment pushed me to go out and try something new on a day when I would normally just stay home, and that's already a big success. And again, not everything that we try has to work or be life-changing, unlike what you might see here on YouTube or elsewhere, where game-changing tricks and shortcuts abound. But the thing is that those rarely work, because it's not about one thing or even a few things. We are, again, the sum of many, many influences in photography and beyond, because photography is more about life than it is about the craft itself. But this is a topic for a different time. Anyway, I'm not sure how this book, I'm not sure how Western landscapes is going to influence my work in the future. It might not, we shall see. I'd love to hear from you. Did you know of this work? What do you think of it? Or have you ever encountered another body of work that challenged your perspective in a similar way than this one has done for me? Let me know in the comments. I like to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.